The reason you can't scale is not because your acquisition isn't good enough, is not because your closing isn't good enough, is not because your content isn't good enough, it's because you do not get good enough client results. And I follow this mantra: sales pay for dinner, results pay for retirement. And that is the mantra that I have used in the first 123 days of my new offer, which has taken me from $0 to 109K in revenue, all because I am focusing not on sales, but on results. This is going to be the exact way that you can set up your whole business so that your clients get unbelievable results, and so that those results are able to fuel the marketing and the sales, which bring in more clients. I'm going to explain exactly how that happens, exactly how you can set up your business. This video is going to get your clients amazing results. It's also going to show the amazing results I get my clients and exactly the systems I have set up in order to do so. If you cannot let your monkey brain go off and just pay attention, get a notepad and pen out and take notes on what is exactly inside the business that I've scaled so quickly, I have bad news for you. It's probably quite likely you think about sales way too much and you don't understand the importance of the results. I want to firstly talk about the actual results that I get my clients, because it's important to give context as to why I believe that I live by this mantra so much. And we've got some crazy results. Like Andrew here, for example, has gone from literally in debt and struggling to making 6K a month with his podcasting agency. Unbelievable. We generated 4K in 60 days with organic content of Josh's story. We've got so many other results. Ben, for example, 13.9K in literally 20 days, 0 to 13.9K as a closing coach. Crazy. With not even a big following as well. So we get unbelievable results. I can talk to you about, look, the changes you made to my business are what I needed to follow my own passions and dreams. You've changed my life. First beta client from 0 clients, first 1K month. To summarize, after 7 days of posting, 650 followers. Phoenix is now at 2.7K after 35 days. More clients. Ben here again. Just crazy results, right? And we are getting crazy results for coaches, for consultants, for freelancers, for agency owners. So absolutely crazy results for these people. Yeah, basically, I know how to get amazing results, and I've built a system that gets me that. But I want to firstly just talk about the importance of why you need to build a results-based business, because so many people I chat to, everyone who comes into my program always says to me, I'm really struggling with client acquisition. And I say, what results have you got? And they say, none. I've not really got any good results, or I've got results and I don't put them anywhere. And that's because there's two types of service business. There's one, it's called the linear business, which is what happens here is a client joins your program, they onboard with you, whether it be an agency or consulting or coaching. They then work with you. And then they say, great. A new client joins and they work with you. And this goes on and on and on. A client join and then they work with you. A client join and then they work with you. The way that I operate my business is called the flywheel business. And this is completely different, because what happens here, ladies and gentlemen, is a client joins with me. But all I think about is this: amazing results. All I want to do is get them amazing results. And then all I want to do after that is record a testimonial where they talk about getting their amazing results. And then what happens is future prospects who are sat in my social media, who are deciding whether they want to buy from me or not, see this client's amazing results and they join. And then what happens is I get them amazing results and I record a testimonial with them. And then a new prospect sees their amazing results, and it goes round and round and round and round. So all you have to do is focus on getting one client. It all starts with this point. All you have to do is focus on getting one client amazing results, and the rest of the marketing and the sales does the work for you because of that amazing result. And way too many people are operating a linear business. They don't think about results. They just think about how they can get this to happen. So they think about content. They think about sales. How can I get a client through the door? Whereas what's really important is just getting one client and amazing results, and the rest sorts itself out. And ladies and gentlemen, I have set up a system which means that I have unbelievable results. These are only a little snapshot of the amazing results I get. And the way that I get such amazing client results, ladies and gentlemen, is I literally do two things. I give my clients information, and then I apply accountability to that information. And I'm going to go through that exact process, all of the resources that I use, the step-by-step guide that I have created in order to make sure that I get such amazing results. And these are only a snapshot. So firstly, I want to talk about information, because basically what we want to do is we want to provide information to our clients. They have come to us because they have a gap in their understanding of how to achieve the goal that they want. So firstly, we need to actually give them the information. And I put this here because this makes me laugh so much, because as soon as someone starts saying, oh, I don't want to sell a course, or I feel negatively about selling course, these course seller scammers, then I roll my eyes, because it fundamentally does not show an understanding of leveraging your time. Because what happens is, at the start, we want to start with step number 1, which is you. And at the end, it ends with a course. And that is not to say that you have to go and make a course, but I want to explain exactly how the step-by-step guide and the scaling approach works for you actually to build an information system for your clients, which allows you to serve more clients, therefore bringing on more clients, but also getting better results for your clients. And it all starts, as I said, with you. It all starts with me and my lovely clients jumping on one-on-one calls, me solving their problems. So this goes on very nicely. But the problem with this is it's great to deliver value to your clients in that way, but there's only a certain amount of hours in the day that you can actually spend on calls. And it's massively exhausting doing call after call after call after call. So what I do is I do offer one-on-one calls, but I've built out a system which means that those calls are less needed because I give so much value in other ways. And that's where step 2 comes in, because I provide resources to my clients. And here is a good example of a resource that I provide to my client. So this is a sales script that I give for closing calls. And if you want it, just message me on Instagram. I'm very happy to send it to you. But that closing call script is one of the resources that I give. And I build these resources, ladies and gentlemen, by listening to my clients and working out what they are constantly repeating to me. Because I will jump on a call and someone will say to me, oh, I need a bit of help with how to actually structure my closing call. And I'll give the value to them of how to structure their closing call. And then what I'll do is I'll jump on with another client and they'll say the exact same thing. And then another client says the exact same thing. And I'm like, well, I'm just repeating the same information over and over again. So it's time to make a resource. That is how I build my resources. I don't build a library full of resources before I even start a program. I build my resources on the go, because then I know that the resources that I'm making are incredibly useful for my clients, not giving them 100 resources, confusing them, and half of them being absolutely useless. It's basically this startup methodology of building on the go, and applying this methodology to my business is the reason why my clients get amazing results and they're so happy, because every resource that I build them, they know works very well and solves a direct problem for them. And the way to build resources is very simply 3 ways to look at them. You can either do a done for you resource, a done with you resource, or a do it yourself resource. And those 3 are the way to build resources. But the reason why I've put this little symbol here is because done for you resources are the best. We want to make the effort and the perceived effort that a customer has to give in order to use this resource and benefit from it as small as possible. And that is why I create resources that are done for you as much as possible. So I have a ChatGPT resource that allows you to make hooks. I have resources. I have a viral reels template, which allows people to basically pick up and play viral reels to get them amazing views, which bring in more customers. Basically, I have all these resources which help people, but I make as many done for you resources as possible because I want to make life as easy for my clients as possible. Because if you just give someone a video and say, look, this is how you're going to make good quality content, then what happens is they're like, okay, but there's a lot of effort that I have to do to actually make that into good quality content. And the reason I get such good results is my resources are so focused around giving someone as little amount of effort as possible in order to solve that problem. So then you build resources. Coming back to that, you build resources. We are creating resources on the go every time we have a problem coming up repeatedly for our clients. Okay, the next thing that I do is called group calls. And I actually have a school community. I'm letting you right in to the inner workings of my community right now. But what I do is I have 3 calls a week. I have a business focus call, I have a content call, and I have a Sunday Q&A and content. That's an hour and a half. So in total, I have 3.5 hours of calls a week for my community. And the reason that I have those calls to the community is I love the idea. You can see my lovely community here. There's normally between 5, 6 to 10 people on a community call. And the reason I have those community calls is because I love the idea of many-to-many value. So you can either give one-to-one value, which is up here. You can give one-to-many value, which I do while I'm on these calls. It's me as a one person, I give it to many. But at the same time, I also love the idea that, say, Josh here can speak to Rach, and Josh and Rach can get benefit from each other. But Sohan can also benefit from Rach, and Josh can benefit from Diana, and Ocean can benefit from Sohan. All of those people can benefit from each other's problems. And that's why group calls are so important, I believe, because group calls allow people to be part of a community, but to also learn from other people's problems. Because Sohan's problem he has right now will be Josh's problem in 2 weeks' time. And Rachel's problem she has now will be Diana's problem in 2 weeks' time. And that is why those group calls are so useful. They also help me scale. They help me bring in more clients. But specifically how they're going to get you better results is they mean that people have the ability to benefit from each other. And the group calls give a great sense of community. And I also use them as a brilliant way to allow people to have a kind of triage session where they come in, they can ask any question that they want from me, and the whole group can benefit, but they know on the Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday, they have an hour where they can jump on and have complete access to me. That knowledge is very nice. And it works much better than just giving these one-on-one calls, which I do offer, but I much prefer to do these group calls because everyone benefits from them. They're triage sessions, and also they have a great community. And then the last thing to do is to create a course around all this. And you're going to instantly think, just like another course seller. But I have an amazing course. But the reason I have that amazing course is my courses are just a collection of all the information that clients need to actually implement the information that I've given to them. So this is one of my courses. This is the no-brainer offer. This is basically about like how to look into your offer and how to basically redo everything or look and refine the whole thing. And that course is because I was jumping on all of these group calls, I was jumping on my own personal one-on-one calls, and I was making resources that were all focused around basically building your offer. How do you get your ICP? How do you create amazing messaging? How do you decide your pricing structure? And I realized that if I built a course on this, then what I could do is I could just send this straight to people when they onboarded. They then watch 2 hours of the course, and then every time they come to a group call, they already have the information that they need. Basically, it gives them the start of what they need. So for your offer, I would highly recommend working out what are the repeated resources that you're looking at making, what are the repeated group call questions, and then make a course around those so that when people jump to a call, they go, oh, so in that module 2.3, when you mentioned talking about my mechanism, I did this and I came up with this problem. So how do I solve this problem? As opposed to what the hell is a mechanism, what the hell is a guarantee, or all of these things. So a course is basically leveraging your information, and it saves you so much time, but it also means clients can go away and they can also access all of your information whenever they want. So I'd highly recommend making a course. I sell my time, my brain still, but I want to make sure that every time I do that, it's as high leverage as possible and I'm not repeating myself. It gives me more time to basically be able to solve my clients' problems that are niche and not solve the ones that I'm doing over and over again. And that is information. And I have, as I showed, provided amazing information to my clients, but I want to make sure that I touch on the second point, which is accountability, because the problem is with this is I have amazing clients, but they are incredibly busy. They have lives that they have to live. And although their business is their number one focus, you get distracted. And also there are many, many things involved in making a business. In fact, I wanted to show that here by basically saying like your client will have a goal. Their end goal, say that is to make a certain amount of money, to lose a certain amount of weight, to get a certain amount of virality on social media, to have ads that work in the right way. And they have that goal. But in order to achieve that goal, they have micro goals. And those micro goals stack up in order to achieve that goal. So for example, to lose weight, one of the goals might be making sure that you go to the gym 3 times a week. Another one of those goals might be also to making sure that you're hitting 3,000 calories a week. Or it could be if you're an ads agency, the ads agency could be in order to get a certain amount of ROAS, one micro goal is we need to post a certain amount of, we need to get, a certain amount of ad spend. And another micro goal might be to be able to create ads that create a click-through rate of a certain amount. Basically, they're micro goals that stack up a macro goal. And we have all of these inputs which create the micro goal, which creates the macro goal. But the problem with the inputs is clients know the inputs because we've gone through what your inputs are, because you've told them, you've created a course, you've got group resources, group calls resources. But the problem with this this is they need to know that if they fail on one input, so say they do all of these, but they fail on one input, it jeopardizes the chance of them achieving this micro goal, and it therefore jeopardizes the chance of them achieving the macro goal. So we need to give them accountability to make sure that we have defined these goals, these inputs, to achieve the micro goal, to then achieve the macro goal. We need to basically, in the nicest way possible, hold their hand to make sure that they're doing all of these inputs to then achieve the micro goal, to get the macro goal. And I've worked so hard on this in my business recently because I've given so much information, but my accountability systems are world class now. And that is because I follow 3 steps. The first step is I define the goal. I define what this micro goal is and what this macro goal is. And I use this using an onboarding form that I give to my clients. Every time a client comes on board, they fill out this form, and this form basically defines what is your goal? What do you actually want to achieve? Because we need to define this goal before we can actually set the micro goals and then set the inputs. So that's the second thing that I do. That's the first thing that I do. And then the second thing that I do is I define the inputs needed in order to get to this goal. And there's a few ways that I do this. We basically have on the group calls, I am always talking to my clients about, okay, so in the next 24 hours, you need to do this. You need to do, for example, post a YouTube video in the next 24 hours to be able to achieve this micro goal. So the group calls, the one-on-ones, and the private messaging channel. You will see here, for example, someone talking about building their offer, and I say, lovely, can you get this over to me in the next 24 hours? We have the inputs that are then defined, and we have all those mechanisms that are basically giving them their inputs. And the other thing I've built is a checklist, which basically this is what people in my community get. And everyone in the community gets basically knowing what they need to do step by step in order to achieve the goal. So for example, the first thing you need to do, I mean, this is the onboarding stuff, but you then need to complete the no-brainer offer modules. Then there's an offer doc they need to complete, then the ICP template. And I just give them the step-by-step inputs they need to do in order to get the output. So this checklist is unbelievable. And then what happens is we hold those inputs to account. And that is one of the reasons why I have this checklist, is because the checklist allows me and my team to go in and say, what have you done and what have you not done? What do you then need to do next? What are you missing out on? Because we found that some of our clients end up, they'll go through and they'll watch all the modules on how to make amazing content, but they've not watched the modules or made the offer doc. And if you don't have a good offer doc and you don't know who you're speaking to, how the hell are you going to make great quality content? So we as a team look at that checklist and basically say, oh, what inputs have you done so far and what inputs have you not done? This not doing this one input might be the reason that you are not getting to this micro goal. And the other thing that we do, which is amazing, and I'm showing you right into the middle of my business right now, but this is a template that we use for tracking our clients. And this, as you can see here, is quite literally just a template. None of this information is actually up to date. And what happens is I have all my clients' information in here, and I then have steps. So what will happen is a client will say to me, for example, okay, I am going to build my offer now. And what we'll do as a team is we will put in here, build offer, and we make it clear that they get 24 hours to do that. They're going to do that in 24 hours. And we will then input the date and it will give me a deadline. And my team and myself will then know that what we need to do is check back with this person in 24 hours to see their offer doc. And we hold them to account that way. And they know that we are holding them to account in that way so that we are able to make sure they get that done, so that that is one of the inputs that is going to get them to that goal. And in that track as well, we track all of what's going on in their weeks. We track whether they completed their task. We track how their revenue is changing. And what also happens is we have a weekly tracker, which we send to people in a form. I can send you this weekly tracker. It's a type form. There you go. So we also have this weekly tracker, which I send out to my clients, which every week we have this progress tracker, and that basically they fill it out every Sunday, and it then inputs into this. As I said, this is just a blank right now, like a template, but they then get the inputs, they show the inputs, and we can then see, look, like, okay, for example, if this wasn't dummy data, this person has posted 2 shorts this week. The problem with that is we know that you need to be posting 7 shorts a week. So we then go back to them and say, okay, right, we need to be doing 7 shorts next week. And then we go and check back in on them at the deadline and we go, did you post 7 shorts next week? And that allows us to make sure that they are holding to account the inputs that they need. Anyway, that is basically the inside of my business. That is exactly how we get such amazing results and why I'm able to scale people so much, so quickly. If you want to be one of those people, then you can click the link in the description. I would love to have a chat about, see if we can work together. And thank you very much for your time.